I said, hey, hey, welcome to the Man Cave Happy Hour. I said, hey, hey, welcome to the Man Cave Happy Hour. We're gonna drink a fine whiskey and smoke a really fine cigar.
It is time for happy hour. It is the Man Cave Happy Hour. Whiskey, cigars, spirits, the stories that go along with it. I'm Jamie Flanagan.
I am Matt Fox.
And we are, Matt, we keep finding these super secret special bunkers.
But here's the fun part. This is the second time that we've found this super secret bunker
And this
spot.
is literally called the private room.
Yes, it is.
So we pull in the parking lot and we drive past the door on the back of the building, and it just like a cartoon character, and it says the private room. And that's where we're at. We're doing it's a special tasting. Our friends from Benchmark have connected us with spirits in the past, and they're like, Steve was like, Jamie, you guys got to meet this guy, and you got to try his spirits because they're awesome, and you should be talking about them. And I'm like, well, okay. It's hard to say no to,
how do
Steve.
you not
You know what I
say
mean?
no?
It is.
It is. It really is. And so with us is the founder and El Presidente. I don't know. He probably doesn't say it that way, but of the New England Barrel Company, James Saunders. James, welcome to the Man Cave.
Thanks for having me. Love the fact that I'm in Michigan right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, stoked to be here.
Because you don't live in Michigan.
Nope.
You live in New Hampshire?
I do live in New Hampshire, yes.
Yeah. So you actually have been traveling quite a bit, doing a tour, if you will.
Yeah. So,
James on tour.
Yeah, James on tour. Coming to a city near you.
Well, we're going to talk all about, because it's a little deceptive. The New England Barrel Company is a spirits company.
It absolutely is.
And it's interesting because Matt and I, we talk about this and we mention it from time to time. It's the barrel is so critically important to the spirit, and we're going to get to that. But James, you said you listened to the podcast, so you know what's coming, brother. You know what's going to happen. James, tell me about your childhood. Did you know that was coming?
I did know that was coming, yes. So
he was like, I've listened. I'm like, oh, well, we're screwed because we don't have any new jokes. We do the same freaking jokes every damn time. But no, James, seriously. I love that question, though. And he's our guest, and I have not let him speak yet.
It's all about Jamie right now.
It really is. It really is. But I love that question because it can draw out things that you never anticipate. But so, really tell us, where'd you start? And tell us about your childhood, man.
So it was a really dark tunnel. Started moving towards the light.
Right on. Well played, sir.
No, born and raised in Boston. We moved to New Hampshire about 6 years ago, so I'm 40 now, so 35 years in the Boston area.
Okay.
High school, college, about 20 minutes outside of Boston, so never really left. We made the move to New Hampshire, 6 years ago, but I mean, when I look back at my childhood, my mom, she was a para for the Boston public school system. My dad, he worked for the sheriff's department. He was a sheriff's deputy. So needless to say, I had a lot of fun. Not so much.
I was saying, it wasn't a strict upbringing, was it?
But
So Matt was an Army brat. So
I was military through and through,
So I mean, it was great growing up in Boston because it was before the city really started to transition right into what it is now. So I got to grow up in a really a critical and pivotal point in the history of Boston. All the neighborhoods have changed, but it still has that close-knit community feel in all the communities of the city. So absolutely love that. Have a little sister who's not little anymore. She is 2 years, 2 months, and 14 days younger than me.
Okay. To be exact.
To be exact.
Yeah.
But family's super important. My friends are super important, and frankly, we wouldn't be here as a company without family and friends, because they are what has really allowed us to grow in terms of like bringing us into their individual markets and being our unpaid ambassadors to the brand.
Yeah. And you talk family because before we were sitting down to do this, we were talking about how New England Barrel Company came to be, and there was a lot of family involved. And your friend Cam is here.
Yep.
From that you grew up with in New Hampshire, but
so we met. Cam and I met. I would say it's our oldest is 12.
Yeah.
really met like 3.5, 4 years ago.
Okay.
When our boys were playing flag football. Right. So he's standing next to me, and I'm just like, what is going on? Like, catch the ball. And Cam's like, hey. I'm Cam. My son's Jeff. James and my oldest is named James as well.
The one that can catch the ball.
Yeah, James and Jeff are friends. I figured we should meet.
Nice.
I'm like, hey, what's going on? So fast forward, X number of years. One of my better friends up there. His wife is my lawyer. Our kids are best friends. We actually potted with them during our remote learning last year as well.
Oh, really?
So that was a way for all of us to mentally survive the kids not being in school.
I teach high school, so I don't have pour in front of me, but cheers. The education in the pandemic. Cheers, brothers. It's holy crap.
I mean, what you guys like your day job. I could never do that.
I had a gun in school yesterday, so that was fun.
Oh. But I mean, like just being surrounded by that, like my mom being in the Boston public school system.
Yeah.
Again, that transition from like the early 90s to the mid 90s to the late 90s to the early 2000s, just seeing how, again, these communities have shifted, the socioeconomic dynamics, like what's going on in the world and how it really impacts all the students.
It's nuts.
I mean, it's truly yeoman's work.
Man. So Jamie,
you were talking about Cam and moving towards, what brought you towards spirits? Where did your love or enjoyment of spirits cocktails begin, and how did that move you into, I should start a with spirits company?
Yeah, really, really good question. So I actually got into tequila really early.
Oh, nice.
Like really good quality, extra añejo. So got into tequila. Tequila was sort of my gateway into bourbon. But what really drove me into bourbon was the fact that I was in cybersecurity and enterprise IT for the vast majority of my career. So, being from the Boston area, having clients in Boston and New York, we would take clients out to dinner, and they were awesome steakhouses, a lot of really great wine. I started covering clients in Kentucky, and it was amazing. Like,
there's a conduit.
The first event that we ran, we would have like 20, 25 people show up, and then the next one would be like 15 to 20, and then 10 to 15, and then finally one of my really good clients, he was like, James, we need to make a change to these venues. Right. Like we're Kentucky boys. We like bourbon and we like barbecue. And I'm like, all right, cool. So we're gonna do bourbon and barbecue. Done. So this was about 8 years ago, and no one was going to Kentucky like for bourbon pilgrimages, right?
Sure, yeah.
Like the secondary market didn't really exist, right? So I had the opportunity to get to know a lot of people in the space, and it was awesome because you were able to walk into a distillery and sit down with like the master distiller, the master blender, like the gift shop people, and fast forward, to where we are now, and
take a number, take a ticket, and
exactly.
Plan an appointment.
But it's one of those things where whenever we go down to Bardstown now, whether it's with one of my groups, me personally, whatever, I walk into certain distilleries and the staff, they greet us like family, right? Which is absolutely phenomenal. Like you turn the corner, even with wearing a mask, they're like, James, I feel like I'm known for cheers, right? Which is absolutely awesome. Another Boston reference. So that's how I really got into it. But I mean, I spent 10 years as a consumer. Like I've done a boatload of picks for stores and restaurants, private groups, and what have you.
So I've been listening over your shoulder all night. I've been eavesdropping, trying to pick up on things, and it was interesting. You were talking to Cam and somebody about how you got the idea for the company, and you said you were out on a walk with your wife.
Yep.
And that was the precipice for
the man cave.
The man cave.
Yeah.
I had a cranky day, and the wife was like, pour yourself a glass, light a cigar, let's go on a walk. She goes, I got to walk your crankiness out. So we went, and I was like, I got this kooky idea. I want to do this. She's like, well, then do it. I want to do this little podcasty thing. I want to learn about bourbon. I want to learn about spirits.
Yep.
I want to do it with friends. And she's like, well, do it. And I'm like, as we're walking, I'm texting to see the availability of the hashtags and it's the name of it and stuff. And so, but tell me about what was that walk that led you to, I'm going to start a company? You and your wife were out on a walk. What happened?
So the walk was the first time I actually gave voice to the idea to people who were external to my wife.
So it was kind of bubbling in your head a little bit?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've had the idea for this company for the last like 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
I regret not starting it 4 or 5 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
But it wasn't until, and so Cam and Shannon, his wife, they were camping with their kids. So it was like their kids and our kids. And my wife and I and Matthew, who's now 19 months, walking.
That's your son.
Yeah, that's one of the 4.
It's a great name, by the way.
Yes, I agree. So it was just us. It was like the 5 of us, and Matthew's just like, because he's like 7 months old.
Yeah.
So I gave voice to it in a big way, and from there, it just kept percolating, and then within 2 weeks, Shannon helped me. She's a lawyer. Actually, formed the company in New Hampshire.
Wow.
So, but the week before that walk, I'm holding Matthew, and the world's still shut down. This is late September 2020. The world's still shut down. The kids are home. I'm sitting at my desk at the home office, holding Matthew on a Zoom call, probably my 3rd or 4th Zoom call of the day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what am I doing? So I'm like, I can't do this forever. So what I want to do is to take something that I'm really passionate about and try to turn it into something that like can sustain the family, but beyond that, help a community that I really care about, and that's the whiskey community. Right? Wow. Because we were at the point where we were seeing, that juxtaposition between quality of spirit and price of spirit shift.
Yeah.
Right. So I remember walking into liquor stores when I first started, and everything was like, $10 a year. That was standard, and now you don't see that.
No.
Right. So part of what I wanted to do was to, shake up the value paradigm a little bit, and I think we've done that. So
I'm really excited to find out, that the quality that's in this bottle, because the packaging itself is amazing.
Oh, thank you.
You wouldn't think it's a whiskey bottle. You wouldn't think, just looking at it, you're like, that's more of a reminiscence of a wine bottle almost.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So where did the packaging come from? Where did the inspiration come from, the packaging, the labeling and such?
So the labeling, I just wanted it to scream New England, right?
Yeah.
I am a massive fan of our region. I try not to drop my R's, but
Sure.
it will happen during this session.
Like you said, half the bottle, and it's going to happen.
Half the bottle, or if I get mad, yes. One or the other. Normally at the same time. But I wanted the packaging to scream New England. So when you look at it, right, you have the lighthouse atop of a whiskey barrel on top of a rocky shore.
Yeah.
Right. New England Barrel Company is very, very prominent as well. On the back label, you have the whiskey wheel,
Yes.
or whiskey wheel. I call it the whiskey wheel. Really, it's the ship's wheel with Nebco just in it. So I wanted it to scream New England because again, I'm just super proud of the region and what we've been able to accomplish. We're not without our faults. Every region has it. Every city has it.
Right.
But we do have a tendency to pull together, and we have, frankly, over the last 10, 15 years. A lot of really, really bad things have happened in the Boston area, from the marathon bombing, going back 20 years, 9/11, and what have you, and the planes originating from Logan. So we've been able to really pull together, snowstorms, the like, and then we also have a ton of things to be proud of. The Patriots, the Red Sox, the Bruins, the Boston Cannons, which I believe is our Major League Lacrosse team.
Okay.
So I mean, everyone's winning.
And there's something on the back of the bottle that I haven't really been paying much attention to, but there's a QR code on the back of the bottle. That QR code takes you right to your website?
Well, it actually takes you to our Instagram page. So one of the things I always say, right, I'm coming at this from a consumer standpoint, right? I'm a part of the whiskey community, like the deep whiskey community. So one of the things that I want to do is to make sure that everyone is invited to join our community, and we're building that community one pour at a time, right? That's frankly our tagline: building community one pour at a time.
Okay.
So whether you have a pour at a friend's house, you buy a bottle, you have it at a bar or a restaurant, the second our product touches your lips, you're a part of that community, and you're the person that we're making this whiskey for.
So can we become a part of your community?
We're getting there.
Yes.
We're getting there.
Yes.
We're going to
guys.
join the community. So you're on that walk.
Yep.
You incorporate.
Yep.
You become a business.
Yep.
And then where do you go from there, right? right. So how did you like? So yeah, are you
There's
like
a process.
stirring it up in the bathtub? Are you sourcing it? So where is the juice coming from? And where's the juice coming from?
I always say I'm not a distiller. I am not a scientist. I am not a chemist. I am not an engineer.
Fair play.
Me distilling anything would result in a massive boom. Okay, like
there's
a big
a
boom.
local Detroit City distillery, and it was like 8 guys in middle school and high school. When they got together, and like they lived out in the middle of Michigan, middle of nowhere,
Bath, Michigan, I believe, yeah.
And they're like, and so what do you do when you're in high school and you live in the middle of nowhere, in the farm with grains and they tried fermenting their own stuff, and he said he did it in his bedroom and it blew up and it exploded his bedroom. It's like
that orange shag carpet,
that it exploded. It literally exploded his bedroom. So fair play by you. You did not attempt to do the science on your own.
No.
You called in the pros.
Yep.
And
so what we do is we bring up the full like basically my strength is my palate, which has been cultivated by this broader whiskey community over the last 10 years.
All right.
A ton of samples, a ton of bottle shares. I stopped keeping track of individual bottles and tasting notes when I hit like 2,000 bottles tasted.
Jiminy crickets.
Right.
All right.
Like, not full bottles consumed. I wouldn't be here if that was the case. But
how's your liver?
It's very strong.
Yes, it's the strongest muscle in your body. Yes.
So no, like what I do is I source barrels. I don't buy a run unless I have a chance to, taste 3 to 5 samples from that run. I'll never buy based on one sample. I don't think that's doing justice to the community. And beyond that, someone could just send you like a honey barrel, which is absolutely amazing, and the rest could be dogs, right? So I want to taste multiple barrels out of that run, and then when the barrels get to me, so full 53-gallon barrels make their long, arduous journey to New Hampshire. I taste through all of the barrels, pull samples down, and begin the process of figuring out like what that next batch is going to look like. So like I'm a mad scientist in my basement. Once I figure it out, I share it with friends. They act as a sanity check. Some of these folks are brand new to bourbon, period. And some of the folks have been in the community for 15, potentially even 20 years. So they act as a sanity check for me. Once we finalize the blend, it gets blended to spec by Place Cove Spirits out of Dover, New Hampshire, a great partner. We let it marry 3 to 6 weeks, and then we bottle it when it's ready.
Okay. So, and here's the thing, right? Because this is bourbon.
Yep.
This is bourbon. So now, and again, a lot of misnomers about bourbon, but bourbon, it's not necessarily a Kentucky product, although this is.
Yep.
It is a U.S. product.
Yes.
Correct.
Right. So, as long as it was done in the U.S.,
and it's 51% corn.
Right.
51% corn.
And American oak.
American white oak, virgin
like a new
barrels.
American oak barrel.
So you have that, and you got that going for you. So, but I mean, when you look at your bottle, what's jumping out is New England Barrel Company.
Yep.
Bourbon isn't jumping out at you.
Mm-hmm.
But when you dig into the label, and it's like, okay, straight bourbon, and this is straight bourbon whiskey.
Oh yeah.
And you guys are, oh my God, there's so much to talk about. You guys are so young.
Oh yeah.
We were again over your shoulder. Your company is celebrating its first, technical birthday coming up.
October 28th. Yes.
Right.
October 28th, 2021. We turn 1 year old.
Right. So just yeah. So
We're
it's
still in diapers.
coming up this month. And so you're getting these barrels.
Yep.
And you're letting them. What are you doing something different to them once you get them?
No. So
it's just the profile that you've pulled together that you enjoy.
Yep. So I blend based upon the way I like to drink, right?
Sure.
So during the winter, we have batch 3 right now. We're going to start blending batch 4. So if I take you guys back, batch 1 was super warm, big Kentucky hug. It was like getting like a hug and all the love from your grandmother, right? Batch 2, I knew we were looking at the transition between late winter, spring, and then into the summer, right? So I wanted something that wouldn't absolutely crush me. So I say batch 2 is like that bro hug, right? Still a ton of love, right?
Sure, yeah.
But it's not grandma's hug,
right?
But it still has this place. Absolutely love it. Batch 3 is a little different.
That's what we have in our hand right here.
Yeah, batch 3 is that transition from the warmth of summer into fire pit season. Hanging out on the back deck. Leaves
I mentioned
changing.
this bottle. It's dark.
Oh yeah,
it's
it absolutely
a little
is.
darker.
It absolutely is.
All right. So it's a little darker. The color of it. I'm just digging this, Matt. I think we should dive in and start tasting this
I
and
would-
join
I
the
would love
family.
to,
Because we held off.
Oh, you
And,
guys did?
Yeah, we
Because I wanted to try it with you.
Well, this is going to be special.
it is.
Well, they
Matt,
came out. We
pop
didn't
that-
want to.
pop that cork in
we
the
didn't want to
mic,
sour, our palate.
Okay.
We wanted to have first impressions here.
Okay, cool. No, I like first impressions.
There's the pop. There it
That
is.
sound never gets old. Never.
Sean said hi, and as did Wayne.
Oh, thanks, fellas.
Detterman. And so, yeah, we just want to say hey
Mr.
back.
Detterman is down
Thanks
in Toledo area.
Oh, fair play.
And Wayne is here locally.
Yep.
And then there's a young lady, Kim. She's watching from Washington, D.C.
Right
and
on,
then
right
we
on.
have Jackie watching as well from
Cool.
Stray Cat.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
Oh, right on. So, yeah, just think of people that are hanging out with the Man Cave. So, yeah, if you haven't, Matthew with a
All right, there you
healthy,
go. Okay.
Matthew with a healthy pour.
I will do this.
Jamie, let me get you some more here.
All right. Just because you feel bad, you poured so much in your own glass.
No, because I wasn't paying enough attention.
All right. Well, we're going to have some fun now.
All right. So when you're, because these batches have been different, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
All right, so we got to talk about that. So I'm curious because you're presenting this to, and it's fun. We're here tonight, and there's probably like 30-40 people here representing probably 20 different party stores and,
Right.
venues and outlets throughout Michigan and fans of bourbon in general. So how do you, when you have like different almost, how would you say it, variations? And again, this is why we do the Man Cave because.
Yep.
We're proclaimed
expressions.
novices.
Yeah.
Slightly.
So
batch one is slightly a different expression than two.
Yep. But
Okay. Is that part of the plan?
It absolutely is, right?
Okay.
So what we want to do is just produce a consistently good product.
Okay.
Right? But given that we will never have a batch above 10,000 bottles, which will be between 40 and 45 barrels.
Okay.
Like let's just call it that, 40 to 45 barrels. All right. There's a ton of different ways.
That's a good run, though.
No,
10,000 bottles is a good
Oh,
run.
it absolutely is.
Yeah.
It absolutely is. That I'm planning for that for batch 5, which is going to be scary and awesome at the same time. But what we want to do is again to provide that path for the consumer to go from a proof down bourbon to a cask strength batch bourbon to a single barrel bourbon at cask strength, and everything's like non-chill filtered as well. So there will be variation. But at the same time, what we want is for the consumer to know that when they buy this bottle, regardless of what batch it is,
So
they're
they
getting
see New England Barrel Company on the label.
it's quality and at a reasonable price.
Okay.
Yep.
So that you're trying to marry the two at a price point
Yep.
and the quality.
Oh yeah, and I mean, like again, just being a consumer in the space and seeing like what's out there, and I love the growth of the craft brand, the craft distillery movement. I personally think there's more than enough room for all of us here. So I don't look at anyone as competition.
Right, and that's one of the things that we kind of learned about, the folks at the distilleries down in Kentucky. Everybody is friends. Nobody is competing against one another.
Absolutely.
The only cat claws that come out is like between the bourbon drinkers in these different bourbon clubs, and it's like, dudes, get over yourself. Just like, let's enjoy this.
Right.
Yeah.
Most of the distillers and the manufacturers,
And even across
and
the country,
distributors and
everybody is.
the
It's
blenders.
a unique family of folks that they come together.
Yeah.
They share ideas and they bang ideas off of each other,
Yep.
and then they open their doors to folks like yourself that want to do something different or really represent your own community in New Hampshire, because there's not a lot of distilleries in New Hampshire.
Right. And it's absolutely amazing because I have a network of folks that I look to for advice, and I mean, like I had a conversation with a master distiller at a pretty large distillery in Kentucky, and like the conversation was about how I store my barrels. Do I store them vertically or do I store them horizontally?
Right.
Because I didn't know. Like, and I'm like, vertically saves a boatload of space. The barrels can take more weight, right? So I could stack them higher. But what he pointed out is, if you store them vertically and not horizontally, you lose out on a lot of the vanilla characteristics that come out of the barrel heads.
Because you're
out of the head.
Because you're only getting access to one barrel head, not both barrel heads. And I'm like, I've never thought about that.
Right.
Wow.
So we're storing every barrel horizontally.
Right.
Didn't even think about that.
You're turning them as well?
No, we're not turning the barrels.
Oh, okay.
But we're storing them horizontally.
All right. So you taste a series of barrels.
Yep.
And you're like, all right, we want 10 from there, 8 from here, 3 from there, and so you get those and you bring them to New England to finish their maturation before you blend them together.
Yep.
Are you switching barrels at all? Are they living where they grew up?
So when we bring the full barrels up, depending on when we make the batches, they either continue to age. So I mean, I have barrels that I brought up in December of last year that have spent almost a year in New England.
Okay.
Right. And one of the things that I think is pretty cool, because like right now everything's like an experiment.
Right.
I think based upon our climate, if we give a barrel 2, 3, 4 years in Kentucky or in Tennessee, or depending on where I'm sourcing from in Indiana, access to the external changes for climate and what have you, temperature swings, all that great stuff.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of the maturation takes place during those first 3 or 4 years, and then the remaining time in the barrel is all about smoothing out the edges. Right. If we take those barrels and bring them to New England based upon our climate, I think we have the opportunity to take whiskey past that 8 to 10 year mark more consistently and get into 12, 13, 14, 15, 20-year-old bourbon, much like they do in Scotch.
Do you have a couple barrels that you kind of have tucked away? They're like, this is going to be my 20 or this is going to be my...
They may have stars on them.
Yeah. I love that.
They may be marked.
I love that.
But I mean, like that's
they
part
have stars on theirs?
Yeah, that's part of like what we're looking to do. It's to just see how far we can push it, because we look at what Whistlepig has done, and they sourced a ton of whiskey when they first started. Yeah. They're even further north than we are in Shoreham, Vermont. They've released ryes that are 15, 16, 17 years old, right? That are absolutely phenomenal. And I think we could do the same thing with bourbon and with rye. And pretty soon we're going to be releasing some Irish whiskey as well. That's like Q1 next year.
Oh,
yeah,
wow. Yeah. But right now, New England Barrel Company.
Real quick, there's a question for
staves.
you. Sure, about staves.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so let's see. And it was Wayne. He says that's interesting about the barrel heads. But the staves are charred too, right?
The staves are charred.
So
is there a particular char?
Yeah.
But again, you're picking different barrels.
Oh yeah,
so they got to be different chars.
So yeah, the barrel head isn't nearly as charred as the barrel is kind of like more toasted for a lot of these barrels, right? It also depends on because I'm sourcing the whiskey, right? What cooper did they use, right? So when we look at this whiskey, I do know that I mean, obviously I know the mash bill. This is a 21% rye mash bill, right? Which is pretty much standard, if you will. That's what I typically drink. So a lot of the the top barrel heads, once everything's charred, those are somewhat toasted, if you will. Some are actually charred as well. It all depends on the cooper, but these are level 4 chars. So they're
so you try to pick barrels. You're like, this is a good barrel. It's not a char 4. Do you say, I'll pass?
No, not necessarily. Because,
but if you like the taste, you'll bring it into the fold?
The whiskey has to speak to me, right? Because there's different characteristics that you get based upon whether it's a toasted versus a 2 versus a 3 versus a 4 versus a 5. Right. So it all helps to build the characteristic of that bourbon within the barrel, and then what that bourbon can bring as a composite whiskey to a blend.
So, yeah, building a lack of a better word, building a fan base for your bourbon, and people go, okay, New England Barrel Company bourbons, I'm enjoying these. I wonder what the next one's going to be, right? And so it's building that fan base, because this guy is, like I said earlier, there's a darkness.
Yeah, is that and that's from the char? Is that where the darkness is coming from?
Well, yeah. The color comes from the barrel, absolutely. Because I mean, like if you look at White Dog, new distillate,
right.
It's the same color as vodka,
right?
So it's all that color being pulled out of the barrel. But one of the things, going back to the whole fan base piece, right?
Please.
And I feel, again, more members of the community than fans. I'm not Mick Jagger by any stretch. And I don't have moves like Jagger either.
You stole my line, man.
but what I'm looking to do, right? One of the great things about working with the distribution partners I have is they're tied into the local markets. So one of the great things that I'm going to do with those guys is not just leverage my network within the whiskey community to provide that sanity check for me. I'm really looking at leveraging their network. So working with the stores in market to say, hey, we have 3 samples of potentially the next batch of New England Barrel Company. Come in and taste it. Tell us what you think.
Sure.
Right, and that's at the consumer level.
Wow.
Right. So I mean, like that's cool because most consumers don't have the ability to like go to Kentucky and drill into barrels or like figure out blends. So this is just a way to say thank you for the support and pull them more into the fold and also act as that sanity check.
And that's instant feedback.
Oh, absolutely. And if they say it sucks, it sucks. I have no ego when it comes to this, right? I've turned down more barrels than I can count from various distilleries because I didn't think that they were good barrels as a single barrel.
So no shame in your game.
Absolutely none. Absolutely none. I mean, you can't get into any business where you're interfacing with the public and expect everything to be roses. Like,
right.
That's not. Again, I'm from Boston too, right? Like. It's just like one of those things. Like we are very, very honest with each other, and it normally comes with a boatload of sarcasm. So, like that's and I mean, my kids are super sarcastic, and I absolutely love it because we just go back and forth. But that's New England right there. Like if you don't like it and it's not for you, cool, that's fine. Tell me why though, so I can make it better.
Yeah, what heart on your sleeve? What Bostonian doesn't wear their heart on their sleeve, right?
Yeah. Mainly about sports.
So has this? So this guy, batch number 3 is a small batch select. 1 and 2 were the same. They were small batch selects.
Yep. So this is one of our core products.
Right.
It will remain a Kentucky bourbon.
Okay.
I like it's officially recorded, so it will remain a Kentucky bourbon. The distilleries may change and what have you based upon where I can source, where I can contract, but this will always remain a Kentucky bourbon.
Okay.
All right. So I was nosing on it.
I sipped already.
Yeah, I saw that.
I was in, man.
But as I was nosing on it, it was buttery, and I could smell that there was going to be a warmth to it. But I can nose that because we're novices. But as time has gone on, we've been tasting more and doing more. Yeah. I know there's going to be warmth on the nose. But then you mentioned, a grandmother's hug.
Well, this is like
Kentucky hug, right?
59, it's basically 60%, 59.34. So basically 60%, basically 120 proof. It's 118.68.
So, it's got some warmth to it.
Math.
But here's the thing.
It's very precise.
James, you said it was like a hug from your grandmother, right? But when I actually tasted it, I'm like, okay, I feel that toffee piece to it. Because it's online.
Yep.
I'm like, wow. Going back to Werther's Originals, that's what Mom used to keep. Grandma would keep in the bottom of her purse all the time. Yeah. So that's like
they were nice and warm.
It's
I'm
grandmother's
just on the
hug.
Buttery. I'm on the buttery end of the toffee. I wouldn't have called it toffee. I was just saying it was very buttery for me. I'm not going to use the S word, but it was buttery.
Buttery.
Smooth is an overused word.
I understand.
So talking about
so Travis, who's coming on to be our presence here locally in Michigan, he is not a fan of the word smooth as a descriptor. It like hurts his soul.
But it's buttery for me. But there's and again, Matt and I, as we're talking to people, it's like, you want to call it a bite, but there's a strength to it,
warmth.
There's a strength to it, the warmth to it. It's high voltage. I mean, 60% coming in, 60%, 119 point whatever, 118 point whatever.
Yeah.
There's a strength to it.
Yeah.
So there's a buttery,
but it's not so overpowering where it's going to make you go, oh God, I don't think I can do that. It wants you to come back for more. It hangs on.
It's hanging on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah.
It's hanging on the tip of my tongue. And the butter is still hanging on the sides.
Yeah.
But it's not like it's not painfully hanging on for me.
No.
It's hanging in there.
It's actually coating the back of my throat right now. And it's just lingering. Yeah. And I don't want to. This would last me for probably a good half hour, if not.
Oh, absolutely,
an hour.
And I would strongly suggest that too.
Yeah. But as if there are folks that are just getting into a bourbon or what have you, you don't want to just sit there and pound. You need to really be able to enjoy.
Oh, absolutely.
And understand what's going on after you have that sip.
Yep.
Take it in. Just let it breathe on your palate.
Yeah, and the best way to develop your palate isn't to take shots.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm guilty. I've taken more than my fair share
Oh,
of shots.
have you met me? No, you haven't. No, today. shot.
But yeah, it's taking the time, like chewing the bourbon or the rye or the scotch or whatever whiskey is in your glass. And I mean, I would do the same thing with tequila and mezcal too, right?
Yeah.
Like you chew that, and everyone from a palate standpoint brings like their experiences to the table, right? So what you might describe as toffee or caramel, I might pick up like a fruity element and say it's more like, apple pie, right? Which when you think about it, right, the sugar and the butter and everything else, like that's effectively caramel.
The first couple of sips, you're going to get more of you're going to get used to that. You're going to get that bourbon feel that you're used to, but then maybe the third or fourth sip, you might be coming across that.
That's when it starts to speak to you.
The fleshy part of the apple, right? And that's where, or the skin of the apple, or the orange part.
And then also that for this batch, right? There's a like what I taste is a soft subtle astringency, which is I think the wood showing through. So like when you think about biting into an apple and you get picture biting into a green apple in particular, right?
Yeah.
And back it, right? That's an astringent quality, right? When you see that, that's the oak beginning to shine through as well. Right.
There's an oakiness.
Yep.
So for me, it's in the aroma, and then once the buttery, and then the strength passes. The smoky, not smoky, but the barrel, the wood remains for me.
Oakiness almost.
The oakiness remains for me.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm getting out of it. So, but this is batch 3,
and I'm a guy, Jamie. Real quick, I'm a guy. I like looking at legs.
I'll take your word for it.
Right. I like looking at legs, and this is hanging on. And that's one of the things that I do pay attention to is how it hangs onto the glass, because that means it's going to hang on to your palate that much stronger.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Do you guys want like an interesting story?
Please,
man.
All right. So when I got these barrels in, right, and I'm starting the company, and I'm like looking at all the numbers and everything, I'm like, well, everyone else starts with like a proof down bourbon, so that's what I'm going to start with. Like we were in the middle of label design when I got these barrels. Jill, my designer, she was not happy with me, because like I was like, I want it to scream New England. I want like a lighthouse, but I want a bourbon barrel, and like that's what I have for you. Go forth and create. Like it was just like really, and we like met on like the UNH campus under a tent in mask. It was 2020. But my initial thought was we would pull these barrels in, and the first release is going to be a proof down release, because that's what like from an economic standpoint, like it just made sense, right? Yeah. I tasted through these barrels. I'm like, I am not going to put an ounce of water into these.
Nice.
It completely changed everything. So I'm like, we're either going to be successful with a cask strength bourbon out of the gate, or we're not.
Right.
And consumers are looking for more of that cask strength.
Right now, the bourbon drinkers, I'm actually, because I started with Irish Boy, right? So
you're an Irish boy.
I started with the Jamesons.
Yep.
And it's Matt and I. We've been doing the show for about 3 years, and it's been 3 years. It's been like bourbon, hotter, more. And I bought a couple of bottles of Jamesons, because it's like I haven't had any Jamesons in the house in a while, because I got so much other stuff to try and do, and I brought a couple bottles of Jamesons in, and I was like, oh,
yep.
This is it's a different game. It's a little softer. It's a little just,
and that right there is your palate shifting.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's.
I can't tell you how many friends, like again, Boston, like large Irish population, how many friends have like come to me and said, "You've ruined insert your favorite Irish whiskey for me." Right. So now they're actually gravitating more towards Irish whiskeys that are closer to cask strength.
Your Redbreasts and such
exactly.
like that. Yeah.
Oh, I introduced a buddy to So Redbreast 21 is a top 5 all-time whiskey for me, all time.
All right.
Like I've been fortunate enough to have a ton of really amazing whiskey. I had Redbreast 21, that first sip, cold palate, first sip. Every hair on my arm stood up, like the back of my neck. Like I was happier than my wedding day. Not really, babe.
Love you, honey.
I love you. But it was an absolutely amazing experience, and that's one of the reasons why we're moving quickly towards an Irish whiskey, right? A cask strength Irish whiskey, which you don't see a lot of in the market. There are a few brands that can do it, a few distilleries that can do it. But I absolutely love Irish whiskey, single malt and single grain.
I'm fascinated. How are you going to create an Irish whiskey? Are you going to bring barrels over?
Yep.
From the island, and
that's it.
Then blend them together,
and then you also have the ability to import in totes as well, which I'm less of a fan of because you're trusting that blend to someone else.
Sure.
So yeah,
it's nice to get the barrels. And
yes. Yeah. So I mean, I'm still at the beginning stages. I'm still identifying which barrels, but once we have them identified, our third product line is going to be Irish whiskey.
So here in the state, it's like MGP is like the big sourced whiskey place. Right. So is there a place in Ireland that you can pull from, or do you have to pull from independents, or what? How's that working with the Irish whiskey?
So there are some larger distilleries in Ireland that we're in discussions with and getting samples from and going back and forth with. Yeah. But I'm also a massive fan of working with smaller distilleries as well, because they're typically like more open to collaboration, experimentation, things along those lines. But at the end of the day, what it comes down to is the quality of the whiskey, and if it comes from a big house, then cool. If it comes from like a small house, cool. It really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter to me. Just as long as it's good, and they can put it on a pallet, put it on a boat, and get it over here.
And get it over here.
Luckily, we're on the East Coast. We're not off the coast of California. So that helps.
Jesus.
That helps.
Yeah.
A little.
What import export? I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. We're not at the stage where we're like renting cargo planes. Like that's not happening.
No.
So you mentioned earlier you're working on batch number 5 potentially.
Batch 4.
Batch 4.
Well, this is 3. Batch 4 is in the works.
Yeah, batch 4 is in the works.
All
batch 5 will most likely
plotting.
No. Batch 5 will most likely the goal. It's crazy because like again we're less than a year old, right?
Yeah.
But the plan is to have multiple batches going at the same time, right? Because the longer you let a whiskey marry in a stainless steel tank, it's absolutely amazing, right? So I go back again as a massive whiskey, right? I think about when Buffalo Trace Sazerac shifted like Saz like the BTAC release. Buffalo Trace Antique Collection. I'm like using acronyms.
Sure, that's all right.
The Buffalo Trace Antique Collection. Yeah, massive whiskey nerd here. From like their tank product, which I want to say they had for like 6 or 7 years. Someone was going to listen and correct me if I'm wrong.
Sure.
But they were drawing down from the same stainless steel tank for a number of years, bottling it. They were proofing it down. But at the same time, like what ended up happening is you did have the ability to see that like the character of that whiskey changed with each release, but it was literally the same distillate in the same tank. So all you were dealing with was oxidation. Right. So what the plan is to have multiple batches marrying for a longer period of time, so beyond that 3 to 6 week mark, and then we bottle it when it makes sense, right? So that's that. But the second the whiskey comes out of the barrel, its aging stops. That's something I want to make clear. So it's not like we have a 3-year-old whiskey blend that's sitting in a tank for a year. No, it's still 3 years old.
Sure.
Right. So I mean like that's where we're going, and we have a great partner who's made a pretty big bet on our continued success. Building quality products.
James, I got to tell you, I'm just this has got some strength to it, and I love the buttery. I'm digging it.
It's actually a very easy drinker for the proof on it. It's an incredibly easy drinker. Like you said, take your time with it.
Oh, absolutely.
Really take your time with it. Enjoy.
I had a friend at the Patriots game who did not take his time. So like this was the just to like the line of demarcation from a time standpoint. This was Game 4, New England Patriots versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Game ended on Nick Folk hitting the left upright. and the Patriots losing the game. I may or may not have had a friend sitting in a chair the last 7.5 minutes of that game next to me, sleeping. He made some bad decisions during the tailgate.
I cannot confirm nor deny that did happen.
I'm going to send this podcast to him and his wife, and he's going to be like, that's me.
I know that guy. Shh, that was me. That was me.
Yeah.
So, but James, I again, listen over your shoulder. I heard something about a new product or a new version that your wife was in charge of. What's something new that your wife has had an influence on?
Oh, so that's going to be the Irish whiskey. So
that is the Irish whiskey.
Yeah, I may be from Boston, but I am not Irish.
Sure.
So, but my wife's birthday is March 17th.
Fair
so
play.
it is.
That's the connection between being from Boston and consuming a copious amount of Irish whiskey.
Sure.
My wife.
It's not hard to get hit in the face with Irish if you're living in Boston.
No.
You know.
There are multiple jokes.
Whatever
there
your
that I
background or
can't make.
ethnicity is, if you're rolling in Boston, it's not hard to get hit in the face with the Irish.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like the Irish whiskey. I'll show you guys the label once we're done. But basically, if you're looking at the label, the red on the lighthouse becomes green, and then the red on the rope also becomes green. So
that's
it absolutely pops. It's absolutely crazy.
So, God, there's so much to talk about. It's like labeling and the getting approval for labels.
Oh yeah,
and getting approval for packaging, and it's just insane. As a spirit distributor, manufacturer, blender, to try to put out something, it's just. What was the biggest challenge you faced?
So
launching New England.
It wasn't in the beginning, to be completely honest.
Oh, fair play.
It's more recently with. And everyone's going through it right now. It's more recently with the supply chain concerns, right?
Supply, okay.
So it's not supply of whiskey, right? I'm good from a whiskey standpoint.
Truckers getting
it's
get
glass.
It
It's glass.
Oh, the bottles.
Yeah, it's the actual bottles that the whiskey goes into, right? So I mean, I've been lucky to work with again a ton of phenomenal partners, but we had to switch glasses for batch 3.
Oh, fair play.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I would liken this New England Barrel Company bottle to a Willet or a Colonel Taylor.
Yeah.
Shape and size.
Yep.
It's if people are playing along at home. On your scorecard,
and
this is
a smoke wagon and a smooth Ambler Old Scout.
fair play.
And,
Yep.
Yeah.
What was your other configuration?
So it was a very similar bottle, right? So this is called a California bottle.
Okay.
So the difference between a California and an Arizona.
We got to do a show on bottles. I don't mean to cut you off, James. You've been talking too much. I got to talk about me for a second.
Again, I'm from
I need to
Boston.
hear my voice. I'm fucking with you, dude. All right. So this is called a
California.
That's a California bottle.
all right.
And the Delta.
Dude, there's names to the bottles, Matt.
Oh, absolutely.
See, this is why
Absolutely.
Matt. This is why Matt and I do this show is to learn stuff. I almost said shit.
This bottle's
but I
name is
didn't.
Bob. Okay, this is
So
Bob.
this is the Bob. So the California Bob is what we're looking at here. So this is the point in the show, James, is when you realize that Matt and I have been drinking. All right, so the California Bob. So. But we did not know the different bottles because we were like, oh, that's a great configuration. And
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So no one is thrown out. Oh, that's a California. Seriously,
your
this
first
is the
person.
first time
Oh, wow,
to
okay.
really.
100 and some shows into this.
By the way, I had no idea a year ago. No clue.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you're educating us. This is what we do. That's why we do
So,
this.
but again, Willet, the Old Stout,
Right.
what company is that? Is it Old Stout? Just Old Stout?
Smooth Ambler Old
Smooth
Scout.
Ambler.
Yeah. Smoke wagon.
That's crazy
like,
stuff.
they-
So is that shape? So that's the California.
Well,
But you said California bottles and Arizona bottles.
So this is a California bottle because I couldn't find Arizona bottles. So the difference between the two.
there's more of a dent in the bottom.
No. So on an Arizona bottle, you have about an inch, almost an inch, 3/4 of an inch.
That's what she said.
Of just base here, just base. So the bottom of the bottle is flat. But
Yeah.
you have about 3/4 of an inch of just like glass
Glass.
base. So the bottle is physically heavier,
Sure,
and
sure.
it can sustain more weight. So when you're actually stacking them on pallets, right? This is something else I learned.
Sure.
So when we switched over, so everything was Arizona bottles, right?
Right.
So thicker base, heavier bottle. So we were able to go 4 layers high on a pallet. So
Sure,
that's
sure.
like each layer is 12 bottle cases, 59 liter cases.
Wow.
We were able to fit 60 cases on a pallet.
Sure.
So we switched over to the California bottles because we couldn't find Arizonas.
Yeah.
Right?
We put 4 layers, 60 bottles on, and then they just started to break.
Oh, fuck.
So
And you're like, that's not good at all.
yeah. Luckily, this was our first pallet. And we
You're
were
like,
actively
wow, that's
bottling.
not. That,
So it
dude,
was
that
like,
is not cool.
No, not at all.
Somebody get a straw.
We lost.
Somebody get a straw because we got something to fix here.
Well, luckily, we only lost like from the types of bottles that we can actually put on the shelves. We lost 12 bottles, but those are our sample
12.
bottles. They're our sample bottles.
So
One broke, ruined a case.
Absolutely fascinating.
Yep.
To me,
All stuff I didn't know last year.
It's like.
I love that you're going back in. That makes me so happy.
I know.
That warms my soul almost as much as the bourbon.
Hit me. Thank you, sir. May I have another?
Oh, cheers.
Yeah, no, fair play. There's so much shit to talk about.
There absolutely is. I'm here all night. We can do this all night. We're drinking it. I will need a cigar at some point.
No, we do.
I grabbed.
And there's a lot of people here that want to talk to you, and like we mentioned, that Matt and I were here. It's the Benchmark guys brought us out, and we're having a great time with them, and they're like great hosts, and they wanted you to be able to talk to the people. So we're not going to monopolize your time. I want to do it again, either on a Zoom or when you're in the metro.
Well, I'll be back next month. It's all good.
Dude, seriously, straight up.
We're doing full on Michigan launch next month.
All right. So just
let us know, and then we'll
get comfortable with
convince.
it.
We'll
Get comfortable with it because we'll do it in my hot tub.
All right, that's fine.
All right, fair play.
Only if we can sit next to each other.
Matt's been.
Jamie just said he wants to take a bath with you. Is what he just said.
I mean, doesn't everyone?
Yes. James, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for taking the time. I want to thank you, your family, and everybody who is like behind this whole project. Because you're putting out some fun stuff. So
and it's amazing stuff at that.
Oh, thank you.
I went in for another one for a reason.
Oh no, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
this
is special.
Oh no, thank you.
So all right, so the website and people kind of track what's happening with the website.
So the best place,
what's going on.
The best place to track like day to day is on Instagram and Facebook. Both are NEB, NEBCO NEBCO 20.
Oh, see, I was trying to tag you earlier.
Yep.
And I was typing out New England Barrel Company, and I got New England Porn Factory. Seriously,
that's where we make babies in New England.
I'm like, I don't think this is the right place.
No.
But I'm gonna bookmark it, and I'll come back to that later. So what is it?
NEBCO NEBCO 20.
Your wife will be very happy that you're hanging out with us. You are not allowed to hang out with those Michigan boys.
No,
they are weird.
You should see some of my friends from Boston. But yeah, NEBCO,
all right, right
NEBCO 20 NEBCO 20 on Instagram and Facebook, and then the website is New England Barrel Co. CO.com. So New England Barrel Co.
So all the moving, the shaking, the tasting, the fun and ideas
we talked about the core products a ton. Everyone who signed up for the website gets access to our special limited releases.
Ooh.
So just quickly to give you guys
please.
a
whatever we didn't talk about.
So Lord Hobo. So they have Boom Sauce 617.
Lord Hobo.
Lord Hobo. It's the fastest growing craft brewer ever.
Fair play.
So
I hate craft beers.
Well, they're based out of Boston.
I love the places. No, fuck them. I hate craft beers.
Well, Lord Hobo's awesome. They took 7 of our barrels, bourbon barrels, back in May or June.
People are crazy about that stuff.
So
it's not my jam. But again, that's why we do this. Everybody's a different jam.
They tossed an absolutely amazing stout in it.
All right. I'm glad you didn't say salad.
I pulled.
They toss a great stout. Go ahead, keep going.
They placed a stout in these barrels. I pulled the barrels back. They dumped the barrels. Pulled the barrels back. Yeah, toss salad, dumps. It's just.
I'm 12.
We're
I'm 12.
We're officially in jazz play.
James was really curious when he was curious. He goes, I listen to this podcast and it breaks down from time to time. It just happened. I'm sorry. They
emptied the barrels of the stout. I'm thinking through every sentence right now. So I was able to pull back the 7 barrels. We actually put a 3-year, 11-month bourbon into those barrels. So, there will be a stouted bourbon release.
Oh my goodness!
For folks who signed up to the website.
Oh, okay. I was going to say because you guys are nationwide? I mean, where are you distributing? Where is New England Barrel distributing?
Right now, from a national standpoint, like buying product through the website, we can ship to.
Well, you're not just New England.
Oh yeah, right.
We're here in Michigan.
Oh
so
yeah,
obviously
absolutely,
not just
absolutely.
New England.
So from the website, we have the ability to ship to, I believe, 42 states.
Okay,
which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Great partner there as well with Barcart. And again, like I'm completely transparent with everything. So
Sure.
if anyone wants to like
I'll ship to you.
Run our
the feds
playbook,
might
it's all
get
good.
involved, but I'll try to ship to you.
But in terms of like distribution to like liquor stores, we're in Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New York, certain stores, Florida, and the Tampa area, and then Michigan comes online
next month
in a big way. Yeah, in November.
Yeah.
So
and all these people, like I said, I want you to be able to talk to and socialize with. I know
it's all good.
We're
And I want you guys to be able to like freely drink too.
And when you're back in Michigan next month for the major launch, we would love to reconnect, sit down,
absolutely,
wherever you're at, just kind of sit down and
anywhere.
It's all good.
I absolutely,
either way. I absolutely love this. I mean,
or the hot
if
tub.
it's a big hot
Whatever
tub,
works.
it has to be a
Whatever
big hot tub.
Say 8-person
because we need to fit 30 people in it.
It's a 40-person deck and an 8-person hot tub.
So we'll make it work.
We got you.
We'll make it work.
We'll go in shifts.
No, but I definitely enjoyed my time with you guys. Like, this is awesome, and obviously, like the love that we've experienced over the course of the last day and a half here in Michigan has been absolutely phenomenal. Like, there's a great like whiskey community beyond bourbon, beyond rye, beyond American whiskey that's present, and like that's frankly that's the best fun, the most fun I have.
I want to talk about next time we get together. I want to talk about because there's like several party store guys here, and they're like, I want a barrel.
Yep.
And it's like what you do is like you blend, right?
Oh no, we have a ton of single barrels,
so
but
we'll do
I'm
that.
limiting those,
and we'll talk about those the next time we hang out.
Yeah,
and,
the single
and how
barrel
that's working for
very interesting.
It's I
just don't want
a
groups
phenomenal
of stores.
piece.
Yeah, I don't want groups of stores competing with each other.
Yeah.
So we're limiting it initially to like 2 barrels in Michigan per month.
Fair enough.
So
no, that's
intelligent. It really is intelligent.
I have people pressing me on that right now, but they're gonna realize just how like stubborn people from Boston is.
Stick to your guns.
I'm gonna go Steve on that shit right there.
James, it was an absolute pleasure.
James.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers, fellas.
Thank you.